Zelenskyy meets US VP Vance and Secretary Rubio in Italy amidst peace talk, concerns, and growing Shahed drone threat. Zelenskyy discusses peace negotiations sanctions with top U.S. officials. Rome, Italy. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy announced via social media on Sunday, May 18th, that he held a good meeting in Italy with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. According to President Zelenskyy, the three high-level officials discussed the peace negotiations held in Istanbul on May 16th, where he noted Russia had sent a low-level delegation with no decision-making power. He also reiterated a complaint from the previous week that the Kremlin was not taking the meetings in Turkey seriously. I confirmed Ukraine's readiness for real diplomacy and emphasized the importance of a complete and unconditional ceasefire as soon as possible, Zelenskyy stated. The Ukrainian president, along with the U.S. Vice President and Secretary of State, also reportedly addressed sanctions on Russia, the battlefield situation, and future prisoner exchanges. I thank the American people for their support and leadership in saving lives, Zelenskyy added. The meeting between Zelenskyy and Vance was their first since a reported dispute at the White House in February of this year, which had caused a strain in relations. President Zelenskyy described this latest encounter as good and released photographs of Ukrainian and U.S. officials smiling together. A senior Ukrainian official provided further details, stating that President Zelenskyy and Vice President Vance discussed the situation on the battlefield, preparations for potential talks with U.S. President Donald Trump, the possibility of further sanctions on Russia if negotiations yield no results, and the imperative of a ceasefire. These intensified diplomatic efforts follow the first direct talks between Moscow and Kyiv in years held in Istanbul on May 16th, which concluded without achieving a ceasefire. European leaders have also threatened to impose new sanctions on Moscow amidst increasingly damaging Russian airstrikes on Ukrainian cities, including Kyiv. Upgraded Russian Shahed drones pose escalating threat to Ukraine. Ukrainian media, including the Kyiv Independent, recently analyzed the reasons behind the increased damage from Russian airstrikes. One contributing factor cited is Ukraine's shortage of air defense systems capable of intercepting ballistic missiles. Furthermore, Russia's widely used Shahed long-range attack drones have reportedly undergone significant upgrades since the beginning of this year, including the integration of jet engines and Starlink satellite communication equipment, placing additional pressure on Ukraine's already overburdened air defense network. Shahed drones have been a staple in Russian aerial assaults since the fall of 2022, valued for their long-range, high-altitude flight capability and low-cost, making Shahed swarms a default option for Moscow's long-range attacks. Commander Oleksiy, leading a mobile air defense unit protecting northwestern Kyiv for the past 2 years, stated that Shahed drones are becoming increasingly unpredictable and dangerous. Data from the Ukrainian Air Force reportedly shows a surge in the effectiveness of Shahed attacks, even as the total number of UAVs launched by Russia has shown a decreasing trend. While 111 Shaheds penetrated Ukrainian air defenses in February of this year, that number rose to 404 in March and 424 in April. Concurrently, the total number of Shaheds launched by Russia reportedly decreased by about 1/3 from March to April. The increased effectiveness of the upgraded Shaheds is largely attributed to new jet engines, allowing them to fly faster, 380-400 km/h, with Oleksiy's unit recording one at 477 km/h in late March, compared to a maximum of around 200 km/h a year ago. carry a larger explosive payload, reportedly tripled from about 30 kilos to 90 kilolals, though still less than cruise missiles like the KH-101, and maintain a higher altitude up to approximately 2,000 meters. This altitude can exceed the effective vertical range of some air defense weapons, such as the Browning machine guns around 800 meters used by Alexei's unit. Manpads like the Soviet-era Igla or US Stinger have a greater altitude reach, but are reportedly in critical short supply, further complicating defense efforts. About half of the Shaheds detected by radar are believed to be decoys, cheaper warhead-less versions used to distract and overwhelm air defenses. The construction material of Shaheds is also reportedly being improved with a new coating for better moisture resistance, as condensation from cold air at high altitudes can weaken the drone's body. Commander Alexei highlighted the severe time constraints for air defense units, stating, "At low altitude, we only have about 5 to 6 seconds to react, detect, lock on, and shoot down." Russia often flies Shaheds at low altitudes, making them harder for ground radar, Ukraine's primary detection method, to pick up if they are below the horizon, even though they are easier to hit if detected. His unit has spotted Shaheds flying as low as 300 meters, with some skimming the ground at 100 meters, reducing reaction times for radar stations and reconnaissance teams to mere split seconds. A significant change in tactics is also being observed. Previously, Shaheds flew mechanically along pre-programmed routes. Now, some upgraded versions demonstrate evasive maneuvers, such as avoiding searchlights like those from Mercedes-Benz Vito vehicles used by Alexei's team to spot UAVs. This is potentially due to an upgraded image-based navigation system. Before, Russia would set a flight path for the Shahed, and it would just fly it, very easy, to shoot down, Alexei said. Now, if you shine a flashlight on it, it immediately veers away to avoid it. While many Shaheds on their way to Kyiv previously followed predictable routes like the Dnieper River or the new Odessa highway to the Black Sea, this too has reportedly changed. According to Alexei, some Shaheds are now being directly controlled, meaning they are remotely piloted. Russia films our positions, observes, and then adjusts the flight paths to bypass us, he explained. A coordinator for regional mobile air defense units told the Kyiv Independent that some launch trucks are reportedly being equipped with Starlink satellite devices to maintain a continuous connection with operators in Russia during the drone's flight.